we have given tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars to universities for them to do research. And they invent things. And you know who owns those patents? The university. So we are going to make a deal with them all, which is if we give them the money, don't you think it's fair that the United States of America and the taxpayers who funded it get a piece of that, right? So we wrote a letter to Harvard, so Linda and I working together. I mean, it's so much fun to work with everybody here. I mean, we just have a blast, you know, because Linda's hitting Harvard and she says, what can we do? And now we send them a patent letter and we'll hit them again. So we're having fun together. This is the greatest cabinet working for the greatest president, and I just want to say thank you. I'm having the time of my life working for you.
That was very well said. It was things people don't think of too much. Thank you very much. Great job. Pete?
Sure. Well, amen to what Howard said. And I would just say, heading into Labor Day from the American military, sir, we happen to be the largest employer in America. We like to think we have a different form of employees who need to be the toughest and the strongest and the most well-trained and the most lethal. And under the previous administration, and for decades, frankly, it was social justice, it was political correctness, it was divisive ideologies seeping into the ranks and changing how well we do our job. No more. Now it is only merit-based, gender-neutral, colorblind. The best of the best from the top to the bottom, that's our expectation. And so you've enabled that. So from the troops directly, which they ask me to say all the time, thank you for your leadership, for your boldness, for your clarity, for common sense, for providing a shield for the rest of us to put America first and to apply peace through strength. We're in the strength business. That's our job, is to stand behind everybody here and alongside John in everything they do to keep the country safe. And the world is noticing. And I wish everybody could. There were two meetings yesterday that I think tell the story. One was, because today happens to be the 4-year anniversary of what happened in Abbey Gate in Afghanistan. Mr. President, you had the families in, who you've met with multiple times, who, when the cameras were on and not on, acknowledged, sir, you were the only one that gave them a proper greeting, that recognized what they gave their sons and daughters in the debacle that was the withdrawal in Afghanistan, that we will bring accountability for the Defense Department through our investigation.
That's good.
But at the same time, the world, sadly, took notice. Whether it was Israel, whether it was Ukraine, those wars never would have started if you were president. Instead, they looked at the foolishness of Joe Biden. Under your military, your Pentagon, we are restoring deterrence. Whether it's Midnight Hammer and those beautiful B-2s, 37 hours straight, whether it's counter-drug operations in our own hemisphere, whether it's the border, working with Christie and the national security team, whether it's LA, whether it's Washington, D.C., you name it, whether it's Europe. Our allies paying 5%, now our allies in the Indo-Pacific stepping up to do the same. That's a recognition that American leadership is here. And then in the second meeting, we were talking about what we're doing in D.C. and Pam's taking the lead. I have to say, just pause for a second. When I look around this table, yes, there's a national security team of Steve Witkoff and John and Scott and Howard and the vice president and Susie and Christy and Tulsi, but to every person here, we work together on a daily basis. And if you call me and I call you, if the answer is yes, how do we do it together? I think that's exceptional. It's what the American people deserve, and you've demanded that, sir. So I very much appreciate it. In that meeting on DC, I started my sentence by saying, the Department of Defense, to which you said that just doesn't sound right. So maybe next time we're here, my card will read Department of War. We'll see. But it's not, here's the thing, here's what people miss. It's not just about words. It's about the warrior ethos. It's about what the department is supposed to do. George Washington started the Department of War because he wanted us to win our wars. Our founders didn't want endless foreign entanglements. They didn't want endless contingencies and deployments. They wanted an empowered military that was, the handcuffs were taken off to fight to win and then bring those troops home. So my platoon in Guantanamo Bay, our motto was, those who long for peace must declare for war. We must prepare for war. We don't want war, we don't seek it. You are the peace president, sir. Because we are strong, our enemies know what we will do. And so whether it's Secretary of War or Secretary of Defense, that warrior ethos is changing. We're going back to basics. our drill instructors can be drill instructors again, sir. So from the minute of the tactical of standards to the strategic of B-2 bombers, we're focused on what matters. Had a meeting yesterday on Golden Dome for America, which is on track to deliver strategically for the American people. Munitions, and the Deputy Secretary making sure our stockpiles are overflowing. That's our job. I'm an honor to be a part of it, sir. Thank you for your leadership.
I think I like Department of War better, but we'll make that decision, right? But you've been great. Thank you very much. So Marco, go ahead.
Well, Mr. President, first of all, everyone's made this comment already and needs to be echoed again. You were elected as the President of Working Americans, and that's why this Labor Day is so meaningful. For me personally, this is the most meaningful Labor Day of my life as someone with 4 jobs. And so, it's true. But on the point of, you made it very clear from the outset, even in foreign policy, everything we did has to be pro-American. It has to make America stronger or safer or more prosperous. And there's just a few things I want to touch to because it involves your team under your leadership making it happen. The first is, for the first time in the modern era, we are truly on offense against organized cartels that are pumping poison, killer poison, into our cities. And that's a team effort. It's Christie's team, it's Pete's team, it's Pam's team, and obviously it's under your leadership. And by the way, we're getting incredible economic, international cooperation. Countries just in the last week, Ecuador, Paraguay, Guyana, Trinidad, today Argentina, all joining us or trying to be helpful in advancing this. And this just, one thing is we're going to stop drugs from coming in and we're having record seizures, but another thing is to build an international coalition against the scourge on the international stage. The second is mass migration, illegal mass migration, which is dangerous for the country but harmful for American workers. What's happening on the border is essential, but it's not just what's happening on the border. And again, Christy and her team have been essential in this. We have countries all over the world that are actually helping us, whether it's through safe third country agreements, whether through its stopping the migration flow from coming here in the first place, incredible international cooperation. You redefined our border. It's no longer just our physical border. We are doing things ahead of time to prevent this from happening and getting cooperations from countries that we've never seen before. And last, I would say, and Steve touched upon this, who by the way is doing a phenomenal job. But Steve is both a great negotiator and he's also a nice guy, which are two tough things to pull off together. But it's incredible. But we both work for the peacemaker in chief. Think about it, how fortunate we are as Americans to have a president who's made peace a priority. And just since the last time we've met, there was a war going on in Cambodia and Thailand, between Cambodia and Thailand. The president just picks up the phone and tells them to stop fighting, and within 72 hours, the fighting had stopped. There's no other leader in the world that could have done it. And the fact that you were willing to spend time to do that and to make it happen is, of course, essential. And then the war that didn't happen because of Azerbaijan and Armenia coming here to sign that peace deal, which is historic in so many countries. You know how many countries said out there it's never going to happen, it isn't possible, and it occurred, Mr. President, because of your leadership. And then on a point of personal privilege, I wasn't even going to raise it. I haven't even talked to you about this. It's a little controversial, but I think I need to bring it up at this time of year. This thing about people getting married on Saturdays during college football season is a scourge, Mr. President. It's dividing families. I don't know if we can have an executive order on this. I'm just saying, but it's really difficult. There's 7 other months in a year that people could get married, so I just wanted to say that. It's very, very difficult. Thank you.
Fantastic. Doug, please.
Well, Mr. President, you've heard from around the table how people are grateful to have an opportunity to be part of this team, have an opportunity to work for you, and have an opportunity to serve the American people. And I would say as we head into this Labor Day, the thing that really differentiates you and your leadership and everybody around this table is one word, and that's respect. Because this is a group of people that respect our farmers and ranchers. We respect the people that are in law enforcement. That's a huge change. Respecting the people that are in uniform, respecting our veterans, respecting our shrimp fishermen. I mean, whoever it is in this country, people that are building our roads. This whole group embodies that sense of respect. And when we start with that, then who benefits? We come up with policies that help those people. And what have you done? You've led an opportunity for us to have lower taxes, way lower deregulation, record amounts of investment that's coming into this country. We're going to be seeing lower interest rates. All of those things coming together is a gift to the working people. The policies are lifting everybody up. There's 140 million Americans that get up and go every day and drive to work. They commute. And one of the most obscene things of the prior administration was their energy policies was creating a hidden tax on those people. The poorer you were, usually the further you had to drive because you couldn't afford the housing if you were working at a hotel, if you were working in a service industry. We were taxing them. A hidden tax on them was the high cost of energy. You're perhaps one of the only leaders in the world that understood the connection between peace abroad and prosperity at home was directly connected to energy policy. You came in and said, we're going to sell energy to our friends and allies. We're going to bring prosperity at home through policies here by having lower energy prices. And we're going to stop funding wars abroad with energy policies that help their adversaries and hurt us. You said we're going to sell energy to our friends and allies. And with the work that Jameson and Howard and Scott and everyone has done on these trade deals, we're going to have an opportunity to have a renaissance in American energy, selling energy to the world, which is going to help bring peace abroad. But the real key thing, in closing, I want to say is two things. One has to do with the U.S. Park Police. That's the group here in Washington, D.C. They're the oldest uniform law enforcement group in the nation. You coming out and visiting with them in person before they went out on the surge. Not only are carjackings down, muggings down, homicides down, everything down, morale is through the roof. Just like Pete saw, we've got record people signing up to want to be part of our military. You have breathed life back into the profession of law enforcement. Your respect for law enforcement is so incredible. It's making a difference. And then us giving them the tools. On a lighter note for everybody here, one of the rules that under President Trump we were able to change for the U.S. Park Police was they could do a pursuit. I was shocked to find out when we were talking to them, like, oh, you pull somebody over and they just drive away and you can't pursue them? And they said, no, we can't. They said, all rules. We got that rule changed in 24 hours because of President Trump's leadership. The next night they had so much fun. They pulled people over. We started to take off. They chased them. They stopped them. And then the bad guys, some of these were in cars that had stolen plates. So they take the plate off. They steal them off somebody else's car. They know it. The plate doesn't match. They know they're doing this thing. The bad guys in the car said, you're not supposed to chase us. Like, you're breaking the rules. The bad guys are telling us to bring them. No, we're back in action. So it's like, and so the morale is high. They all wanted to say thank you to you. Yesterday you announced increasing the number of U.S. Park Police that we're going to hire. This is the group that protects not only our sacred monuments of democracy here, but also the Statue of Liberty and the Golden Gate. This is a great group, but on behalf of all law enforcement, we say thank you. And as Chris Wright was talking about electricity, I want to close with that. We've solved amazing things in 7 months, but the big challenge we have against the remaining is, solving Iran's nuclear thing, that was an existential threat. China beating us in the AI arms race, that's an existential threat. We finally have a president who talks about it. You talked about it in your opening remarks. You've signed executive orders. You understand that essentially we used to say hundreds of years ago, people started saying that knowledge is power. But now, for the first time in history, we can take electricity and we can convert it into intelligence. So it's flipped. It's no longer knowledge is power. Power is also knowledge. And while we're ahead on the technology, we're way behind China on the amount of electricity they're bringing online. And your strong position to support affordable, reliable energy using our nation's resources, including those across the Department of Interior, bringing back coal mining, bringing back mining, bringing back timber. All the industries that have been killed in this country are coming back to life because of you. And with your leadership, we have a chance to not only win the AI arms race, but actually dominate it the way we're dominating in other things. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. And we're leading that race right now by a lot. And we're going to keep the electricity coming. In China, they do it very quickly. They have one person that says, do it, and that's it. But essentially, we have one person that says, do it. And we've given that order, and the job they've done has been amazing. And I want to thank again, Lee, what you're doing in that regard is so important. And rapidity, just as fast as them, because it's a question of a week versus a day, and that's not going to make the difference. But you've done fantastically, and Doug and Chris, amazing job. So we've done this for a little while now. I don't think you've ever seen anything like it, and I think Sean was right. These guys that are holding this up, if you ever try holding your hand out for 2 hours, that's a long time. These are pretty strong characters. You've been doing that a long time, I guess. Congratulations. Are you getting tired? Are you getting tired? I'm
hours.
looking at these guys, they look like they have no problem. It's amazing, actually. It's, I think they would have beaten you guys in the test. So I want to thank you. If you want, you know, it's been a long time. If you want, we could go in and we can call it a day.
No, we have just a few questions, Mr. President.
And feel free then to ask some of the questions here. Look, I believe in very open, you know, we want to be open, above board, we want to be honest with the media. I wish the media was totally honest with us, but I think they're getting better, to be honest with you. And so we'll see, but if you want to take a few questions. you
Mr.
really-
President.
On a serious note, when it comes to Fed Governor Lisa Cook, her lawyer has said that they're going to be filing a lawsuit challenging this legal action. What is your response? Are you prepared for a legal fight? And then a little bit more.
Oh, sure,
of a
always, you
happy
always have
question,
legal
sir.
fights.
In
Look,
the
I had a
law
legal
football-
fight that went on for years with crooked people, with very horrible people that have been found out now between John Ratcliffe and Tulsi and Pam, and, I mean, the things that we found out, of course, it's a very, very sad group of people. But no, she seems to have had an infraction, and she can't have an infraction, and especially that infraction, because she's in charge of, if you think about it, mortgages, and we need people that are 100% above board, and it doesn't seem like she was. Yeah, please.
Mr. President.
First, I would love to ask you a serious question, but I have to tell you the biggest pop culture news of the year broke while we were in this cabinet meeting. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are engaged, and the world wants your reaction, sir.
Well, I wish him a lot of luck.
Thank
No,
you,
I
sir.
think it's, I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy, and I think that she's a terrific person. So I wish them a lot of luck.
On a serious note, Mr. President, in May, Secretary Rubio said that they were aggressively removing visas of Chinese students. Yesterday, you said you wanted to allow 600,000 Chinese students to study in the United States. Could you and the Secretary clarify what is the policy on Chinese students in the United States?
Well, we think we're, you know, look, we're getting along very well with China. And I'm getting along very well with President Xi. I think it's very insulting to say students can't come here, because they'll go out and they'll start building schools and they'll be able to survive it. But I like that their students come here. I like that other countries' students come here. And you know what would happen if they didn't? Our college system would go to hell very quickly. You'd have, and it wouldn't be the top colleges. It would be colleges that struggle on the bottom. And you take out 300,000 or 600,000 students out of the system. I like having, and I told this to President Xi, that we're honored to have their students here. Now, with that, we check and we're careful and we see who's there, and Marco wants that. We spoke, we're in the same position. But we have a tremendous college system, the best in the world, nobody even close. That's why China sends them here. And you can call it an industry if you want, but you're talking about millions of people. And I'm honored to have the students from China come here. And we're just getting along very well with China. And it's a different relationship than we had for years, where they took hundreds of billions of dollars, just sucked it right out of our country. They respect us again. I respect them. The relationship is very good. I think it's important that these are two very major powers, nuclear powers at that, but two very important powers. You know, when I get along with Putin, when I get along with President Xi, when I get along with these people, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. We're tough and we're smart and we're strong. We get along. It's a lot better than not getting along. You had somebody in here before. The war should have never started with Ukraine and Russia. It would have never started. And Putin said that himself. President Putin said that himself. So we want to see college students come in from countries. There are some countries that we can't necessarily say that. These are places that have ideologies that we can't live with. So there are some areas, some countries that we can't say that. But we're honored to have the students come here. Please. Yeah, please.
Yesterday you said that within 2 to 3 weeks we have a conclusive, pretty good conclusive end to the war in Gaza. What did you mean by that? And can you
On what?
in the war in Gaza?
Yeah, what about it?
You said in 2 to 3 weeks you would have a conclusive end, or pretty good conclusive.
There's no conclusive. It's been going on for a long time. You're talking about, I guess if you really add it up, Steve, you're talking about thousands of years, okay? It's been going on there's nothing conclusive, but hopefully we're going to have things solved very quickly with regard to Gaza and also with regard to Ukraine and Russia.
Mr.
Mr.
President,
Who
who are you
considering for the replacement to nominate for Lisa Cook, and what economic background or history are you?
Well, we have some very good people for that position, and I think we have some very good people. We're down to, I mean, I think I maybe in my own mind have somebody that I like, but I deal with Scott and I deal with Howard, and we're dealing with a lot of people actually that are going to be involved in that decision, because it's a very important decision. As we see, I mean, I got a bad recommendation when I went with Jerome Too Late. You know, it's just, he's too late. His nickname is Too Late, costing us a lot of money, hurting the housing. I mean, our housing industry is good, but it could be phenomenal. Most of this country, in terms, economic terms, has been phenomenal. We've never seen anything like it. Because of him and his high interest rates, the housing is less than it could be. We're going to get that straightened out very quickly. He gets out very quickly, fortunately. He's been the wrong guy. Not a bad person, I don't think, but you know, I do think he has motives, by the way, but I don't consider him, I've dealt with worse. But he hasn't done the job. The recommendation from a certain person was not a great recommendation. That person vouched for him, but we're doing a very careful study. We'll see what happens. Look, we just put a very good man in one position. We might switch him to the other. It's a longer term and pick somebody else, but we're very happy with the person we have in there. And we'll have a majority very shortly, so that'll be great. Once we have a majority, housing is going to swing and it's going to be great. People are paying too high an interest rate. That's the only problem with housing. We have to get the rates down a little bit. And when we do, it's going to be a tremendous difference. The country is doing so well. It sort of blows through the fact that we have a man who's too late and not doing a very good job. Please,
Mr. President, regarding crime in D.C., something that might help especially ladies is being able to carry. I know you talked about reciprocal carry. Would you like for that to apply here in Washington, D.C.?
when you say carry, I assume you're talking about carry what we're talking about,
Conceal
right?
or...
In other words, carry a gun. Is that right? Would you like to carry a gun?
I would like to, yes, sir.
You'd feel a hell of a lot better, right?
I absolutely
I agree with you 100%, okay?
Okay, great.
But I'll tell you, within another couple of weeks, it's hard to believe what's been accomplished in 12 days, but within another couple of weeks, you won't have to carry. You're not going to have to carry. You're going to be safe. People are safe now. The turn has gone fast. I knew it was going to go fast, but this turn has gone really fast. And within a month or two, this is going to be one of the safest places in the country. I have no doubt about it. And we'll do an extension. We'll work with Congress, or I could declare an emergency, but I don't think that's going to be necessary.
And
We'll
to
work with
that,
Congress.
you've got-
We're going to be working with Congress. I spoke with our great speaker, and I will be speaking to John Thune, and we're getting tremendous support from Congress, especially maybe here. Everybody wants to see our capital be great. You say be great again. You know, it's such a beautiful place, but if you have crime, nothing looks beautiful. So, but you won't need to carry a gun, but if you do,
Well, I would like
They're
to
gonna be
have
your
the
choice.
option, just in case.
well, a lot of
Sir,
people feel that.
Also in other blue cities, you've got Karen Bass in Los Angeles, Brandon Johnson in Chicago. It seems to be very popular here, the fact that people can walk around and go to restaurants, shop, and
Yeah.
don't have to worry about their safety. If blue city mayors oppose those efforts in their cities, do you anticipate that Democrat voters are going to take it out on them?
I think so. I think that crime is going to be a big thing. And we are the party, the Republicans are the party that wants to stop crime. We're against crime. The Democrats like crime. I don't know why. I mean, we talk about common sense. I think I got elected on talking about common sense. The border, we have to have a wall. We don't want transgender for everybody. We don't, as I said before, we don't want to have men playing in women's sports. I mean, you see the difference. Weightlifting. Take a look at weightlifting. Take a look at long distance running, where a runner came in 5 hours and 14 minutes ahead of another runner, both champions. One male, one female. It's not fair. It's demeaning to women. It's so bad. But they have another one, and I think this is the beauty of them all. Crime. They're against crime prevention. You can't do that. You can't do that. And I think to myself, I say, is there some game? You know, they're smart people. is this, anybody that could cheat like that in elections is smart, okay? And there's never been in history anybody that could cheat like that. They're smart. They're brilliant in many ways. I say, is there some trick to this? When they say, Trump is in Washington, D.C., stopping crime, he's a dictator. And people are being mugged like your brilliant associate here. I don't know how you're alive, I mean, based on that story. You got very lucky. He didn't just go, all he had to do is this, right? And, it's pretty amazing.
Was it a
So,
intentional
so, we have something, I think we have two things. I think what Bobby was talking about with respect to drug prices is unbeatable. Nobody else could have done it but us. And I think that I think crime will be the big subject of the midterms and will be the big subject of the next election. Think of it. They are, instead of saying, Trump's right about crime, it's really bad in Chicago. You have a guy in Illinois, the governor of Illinois, saying that crime has been much better in Chicago recently, and Trump is a dictator. And most people say, if you call him a dictator, that if he stops crime, he can be whatever he wants. I'm not a dictator, by the way, but he can be whatever he wants. I think it's going to be a big subject for the midterms, and I think the Republicans are going to do really well. They called it a trap. This Democrat consultant, they said, he's put him in a trap again, because these are all traps. 80-20, but they're not 80-20. They're almost 100 to nothing, all these issues. But I would say that crime is stronger than men playing in women's sports. I think it's stronger than transgender for everybody. It's transgender for everybody, according to them. It's stronger, of course, this is the cause of it, open borders. Open borders gave us a lot of this crime, so they're sort of on an equal footing, I guess. But crime is going to be a very big subject. And you know what he should do if he was smart? Illinois or New York, if they want, or Gavin Newsom, they should call me and they should say, we've got a problem. We could solve with this team, different players, but work the same way, because you'd leave them here. You don't want to take them out and let it go to hell. Everybody's so happy in Washington. I bet you walked over here today and you had no fear. Nobody has any fear anymore for the last 12 days. But it would be so smart. Gavin Newsom called me up, say, we have a big problem. We have the Olympics coming up. We want to do well. We have tremendous problems on crime and other things, and would love some help. Chicago in particular, maybe right now. I mean, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. We could solve their problem it's bigger than this, let's say 2 months. Okay, working with their police. I know their police very well. I have a big project in Chicago. I was so proud of it. It's the best site in Chicago. I got it. Nobody else got it. I was happy as hell. That was when I was a real estate guy, and I got it. The Sun Times site, they call it. And I built the building. It's a great building. And I'm so embarrassed when I see the kind of crime stats coming out there. So embarrassed. And if I were a governor, a Democrat governor, or mayor, or anybody having to do, I'd call up President Trump and say, President Trump, we need your help. We saw what you've done in D.C. in a period of 12 days. This is 12 days. We haven't even started. This is going to be so safe. It's going to be the safest place on earth. And we'll do the same thing in Chicago. But I'd like to be asked, as opposed to just going in and doing it. Because, when you go in and do it, then they start screaming, oh, he shouldn't be here. We don't need him. We're doing so well. And then the better we do, they take credit for it. So it's really pretty unfair.
Mr. President,
Yes,
on
go ahead.
crime, for a lot of victims, like myself, a big concern is long-term sustainability. Can you share with the American public about your plan in ensuring that DC is safe in the long term?
Longer term, yeah.
Years
Well, it's a great question. Number one, we want to stay there for longer than 30 days, as you know. We have an absolute mandate, and I can extend it, but I'd rather not have to declare a national emergency, because by that time, right now there's not an emergency. We've done, as you sort of said yourself, it feels like a different world. We've got under arrest and prosecution, and we've taken some, and we're in the process of taking hundreds out of our country that shouldn't be here. And these are hardcore professional criminals. They were born to be criminals, in my opinion, but they're seriously bad people, murderers, drug dealers, you know them all. You see them all as you walk beautifully to work, and every once in a while somebody puts a gun to your head, because that's what happened in your case. We're getting a lot of them out of the country. We're putting a lot of them in prison because we're afraid to bring them out of the country. They could come back. You know, as good as we're doing, they could come back. We don't want them back. And that's going to solve a lot of it. We also think there should be a presence here for long enough. We should also work with our police department, because you have very good police here, very good. We're working very well with them, by the way. And we have to work together for a while. We have some people that are very tough and very strong. Working with the police, they're going to be able to handle it. And you know what? If it gets a little bit bad, a little bit, just a little bit, I'll bring them back in and we'll straighten it out and we'll make it perfect. You're going to be so safe in the city. And you're going to have the city beautified. We're going to be giving out, we're working with Clark, as you know, construction. They're the biggest. They're working with me also. We're building a beautiful ballroom for the White House. They've been after it for 150 years, employs a lot of people. It's going to be as beautiful a ballroom as has ever been built. And Clark is the big builder in this city. They've done, I guess, a majority of the good work, the big work. And we're working with them on the beautification, the fixing up the roads, the fixing up of the medians, between the roads, so cars don't wrap into each other. They wrap into, I have one piece sitting on the ground for weeks. This was a year ago, when I had to come in, unfortunately, for fake court cases. And I looked at the condition. We have it fixed up a lot right now. You know, the tents are removed and a lot of things have taken place. But I'd come into this city and I'd say, boy, does it look bad. The filth on the roads, the medians were broken and always laying down and nobody would fix them and all of that. Well, we're going to have new medians. We're going to have a nice topping put on the road. We're not going to rip the roads apart and start a construction project that lasts for 2.5 years as they rebuild the road, which they don't have to do. And we're going to have this place so beautiful. It's going to be a part of it. Now, the biggest part is crime, but it's also a part, you know, when you see a dirty city, it's like I told, I don't know, it became the #1 thing viral. I said my father, he's a smart guy, he's a great guy, he's a loving, wonderful father, but he could be a little on the tough side. He told me that, son, when you walk into a restaurant and you see a dirty, filthy door going into the restaurant, don't go there because the kitchen's dirty also. When they see a dirty Capitol, the rest of the world, they lose a lot of respect for our country. This Capitol is going to be so beautiful. We're going to have new poles, new lights, new fences. It's stuff that, when you add it up, it's money, but it's peanuts compared to what we're talking about. And we're also going to have great safety.
Mr. President, I wanted to ask you on crime and also a question on foreign policy that maybe other officials can weigh into. And on crime, Iris shared her story, and you mentioned, people going
That was
there.
a terrible story. Because I'm just amazed she's here. When the gun is, Pam, when the gun is put to the head, did they ever capture these people, by the way?
I kept calling, but I haven't heard back about this guy.
It'd be really great if you could maybe give the information. She's very good at capturing people, you know? She's very good. If you could give that information to Pam, would be great. Would you do that?
Yes, will do. Thank you
Wouldn't,
so much.
you'd love to see them. I would assume you'd like to see them
For
captured.
sure,
You
yes.
can't, you
Been
just
waiting
can't.
for years.
Yeah, take a good look at them.
But,
Go ahead, so go ahead.
Just a few weeks ago, I was out to dinner with my husband, and then, we're taking the metro back, and then we get attacked on the metro. They're throwing things, some teenagers, they're throwing liquid at us.
Oh, they're throwing things. They throw, how about where they chop down the granite curbs and the concrete curbs, but the granite curbs so expensive. You know, those granite curbs, nobody uses them because they're so expensive. And you see a guy chopping them and handing out big chunks of them like a brick because they couldn't get in because people were stopping them from walking out. A little bit unusual when you're walking with a bag of bricks. Generally speaking, Sean, that's not a good sign, right? It's not a good sign. But they now come in with hammers. They can disguise a hammer, and they start pounding the concrete and the granite, and they hand out chunks. And those people take those chunks and start throwing them at cops, or they stand on the top of bridges and they drop them down into the windshield of your car, and you get killed running into a light pole. It's those days are over.
I wanted to ask you, Governor Hochul, Kathy Hochul, said that she spoke to you on the phone, and you said you might send National Guard troops to New York. You mentioned that. So will you?
I'd love to do
will
it.
you be
If
sending
she'd
troops
like,
to
I
New
get
York?
along with Kathy. If she'd like to do that, I would do it. You see, Look, New York has difficulty like, and I don't want to make this I want to make this like friendly. But the places we're talking about happen to be virtually all Democrat-run. Now, take a look at your 25 places that are most troubled. Everyone, except maybe one, and it's way back in number 24 or 25, but essentially 25 out of 25 are run by Democrats, and cashless bail was a disaster. When they did that, and I believe it was instituted first in New York, but when they did cashless bail, that was a tragedy for this, because that's when it really started getting bad. When somebody kills somebody, you don't say you can come out, you don't have to put up anything. You put that person in jail and you find out whether or not it's true, but you don't give cashless bail with a promise to come back in a couple of months, we'll start talking to you. Because they go out and they kill other people, and you can't do that. The cashless bail has been, it's just a woke thing. It's got to stop. You see that, Christy, better than anybody. It's got to stop. It causes unbelievable, and we're doing that. We're stopping it in D.C. I would love to have the governor of Illinois call me and say, look, we have a problem in Chicago. We will stop that problem in Chicago in 2 months, maybe less, 2 months. We'll stop it. These are tough cookies we have working for us. These are tough cookies. These are not politically correct soldiers that I won't go into definitions of what that means, but these are not politically correct soldiers. These are rough guys. I watched it last night. I see it. I saw them the other day when we went down and we spent some time together with them. These are tough cookies. These are not people that you're going to laugh at and spit in their face and they're not going to do anything about it. And these people, they're afraid. These gang members who are bad people too. These are bad. These are just bad people. Ours are bad, but they're bad in a good sense, right? You don't understand that, Scott? And we can solve Chicago in 2 months. Now, then, as per your statement before, we have to keep it going, and we'll be able to keep it going. The first thing you have to do is get it down. We are very close to being in that position in D.C., and within a month, we will be, within a month from when we started, which is quicker than I thought. You're going to feel very, very safe. I think you feel very safe right now.
Mr. President,
But I would love it to have these governors, mayors call me and say, we'd like to invite you into our community because we have a problem and you can handle the problem and we can't. One other thing, sanctuary cities, they should be terminated. They're sanctuary for criminals. They're safety and security for criminals. They are very, very bad. And all of these places have big sanctuary cities, and all they're doing is protecting criminals, okay?
Mr. President, thank you. A couple of questions about Lisa Cook. You have spoken out very strongly for a long time about what you see as the weaponization of government.
Yeah.
Is your administration weaponizing
No.
government by digging into the mortgage records of officials you don't like?
No, they're public. I mean, you can find out those records. You can go check out the records yourself. And you should be doing that job, actually. You wouldn't do that because that's not the kind of reporter you are. But you should be doing that job. I shouldn't have to be doing it. If you did your job properly, we wouldn't have problems like Lisa Cook.
But
Go
would
ahead.
you
were going to say
sir,
something?
would you be trying
go.
to fire
Blue?
Lisa Cook if
Mr.
she had voted to
President,
lower
on-
interest rates?
On national
Please.
security.
I think we
a
have to have
follow-
lower interest rates.
A follow-up question for you and Madam Attorney General on national security. We heard from Stephen Miller yesterday in the Oval Office that there are street criminals here in D.C. who are actually found to be doing business with transnational criminal cartels
That's right.
overseas.
And we know who they are, and we know who they're doing business with. And we're arresting the people, very strongly arresting, and we're keeping them there because, your laws here make it very difficult. And one of the other laws we're trying to get done, because you have 14-year-old kids that are just as tough as a 25-year-old kid, just as dangerous, and they carry the same gun. And we have to make a provision where they're treated like older people, because these are seriously tough, bad. They're children, but they're criminals, and they're really bad criminals. And they're used by older people because they never get charged because you can't do anything to them. But we are getting that change, Pam, I hope, because you have 14-year-old kids that are evil, they're sick, and they have to be put away. Something has to be done, because you can't have a society where they're allowed to walk the street. You know that better than anyone.
On your way to Alaska,
I can't believe it. You're not tired holding that?
I have a few more questions.
How strong are you? How strong are you? Look at him. He's been holding that thing for 3 hours. You're a good fisherman.
Well, I should give that a shot.
Go
On
ahead.
the way to Alaska, you had mentioned that there would be severe consequences if Vladimir Putin did not agree to a ceasefire.
Yeah.
After that summit that was rolled back, given the negotiations, is he back on the clock now?
I want to see that deal end. It's very, very serious what I have in mind if I have to do it, but I want to see it end. I think that in many ways he's there. Sometimes he'll be there and Zelensky won't be there. You know, it's like, who do we have today? I got to get them both at the same time. But I want to have it end. We have economic sanctions. I'm talking about economic, because we're not going to get into a world war. I'll tell you what, in my opinion, if I didn't win this race, Ukraine could have ended up in a world war. We're not going to end up in a world war anymore, but it would have ended up possibly in a world war. That would have been they were ready to trot. But just like India and Pakistan, we're going to end up in a nuclear war if I didn't stop them. You know, it's sort of strange. I saw they were fighting. Then I saw 7 jets were shot down. I said, that's not good. That's a lot of jets, you know. $150 million planes were shot down. A lot of them, 7, maybe more than that. They didn't even report the real number. I'm talking to a very terrific man, Modi of India. And I say, what's going on with you in Pakistan? Then I'm talking to Pakistan on trade. I said, what's going on with you in India? And the hatred was tremendous. Now, this has been going on for a hell of a long time, like sometimes with different names for hundreds of years. But I said, what's going on? I said, I don't want to make a trade deal. No, we want to make a trade deal. I said, no, I don't want to make a trade deal with you. You're going to have a nuclear war. You guys are going to end up in a nuclear war. And that was very important to them. I said, call me back tomorrow, but we're not going to do any deals with you, or we're going to put tariffs on you that are so high. You were there, Howard, right? Yeah. We're going to put tariffs on you that was so high, I don't give a damn, your head's going to spin. You're not going to end up in a war. Within about 5 hours, it was done. It was done. Now, maybe it starts again. I don't know. I don't think so, but I'll stop it if it does. We can't let these things happen. The Russia-Ukraine situation, last week, 7,012 soldiers, 7,012 soldiers died. They were Russian, they were Ukrainian, they weren't American, so a lot of people would say, what do you care? They're not American. I care. There are 12,000, over the last couple of weeks, over 12,000 people died in like in 2 weeks. You know, we're talking about crime where somebody's killed here or somebody. Think of it, you have your son leaving Russia, leaving Ukraine, their little house, wherever they live with their parents, they're waving goodbye, just like our parents would wave goodbye. And they're waving goodbye, son. And then a week later, his head's blown off in a stupid war by a drone, a whole new form of military problem. So, no, I'd like it to stop. I want to get it to stop. And it will not be a world war, but it will be an economic war. And an economic war is going to be bad. And it's going to be bad for Russia, and I don't want that. Now, I have to also see, because not everybody, you know, Zelensky's not exactly innocent either, okay? You know, it takes 2 people to tango. And I say it all the time. You got to get them together. I get along with Zelensky now, but we have a much different relationship, because now we're not paying any money to Ukraine. You know, stop that. We're paying money to ourselves. What's happening is NATO is buying all of the equipment and paying in full. But even with that, forget about that. I want to get it stopped, because it's a lot of lives that are being lost. Every week it's 7,000, 5,000, 6,000. I get the reports, and I see battlefields. I'd rather not see them.
What did
And
Putin
you know,
say in your phone call?
you read about Gettysburg. You read about Gettysburg, and you see, you know, those 600,000 people. But in that war in particular was really bad, like 150,000 or something, just dead body. I'm seeing the same, I see pictures, I see satellite pictures of heads over here, arms over here, legs over here. And this is like a modern age. It's no different than the worst wars that I've ever seen. And if I can stop it because I have a certain power or a certain relationship, I had a very good relationship with President Putin. Very, very good. That's a positive thing again. And I think I'm probably the only, Steve Witkoff would tell you I'm the only one that can solve it. I don't know. He's told me that a few times, unless he was saying that just to build up my ego, but it's not really. I have no ego when it comes to this stuff. I just want to see it stop. Thousands of young people, mostly young people, are dying every single week. If I can save that by doing sanctions or by just being me, or by using a very strong tariff system that's very costly to Russia or Ukraine or whoever we have, you know. But I stopped 7 wars, and 3 of those wars were going on for more than 30 years. You know, if you look at Congo, if you look at, just look at any of them, almost all of them were going on for an extended period of time. Now, interestingly, one had just started. It was 2 days old, and you know that one. And we did that one when we were in Scotland negotiating. It was 2 days up, but there were 2,000 dead bodies laying on the border, and I got that one stopped too. And I'm very honored by that, but I still, the one that I thought would be the easiest is turning out to be the hardest. That's President Putin and President Zelensky, but I think I'll get it done.
Why do you
Can
think
you
that
stop the
why is it
famine in
harder than you
Gaza?
thought it could be?
You never know. It's war.
Can you stop the famine
With
in
war,
Gaza?
you never know. Right? War's very tricky, very horrible, but with war, you never know. Things change. People go into war, think they're going to win the war, and then they get their asses kicked, and they lose their country, and they lose millions of lives. Nobody goes into a war thinking they're going to lose. They go in. I'm sure that Ukraine thought they were going to win. It's going to be, you know, we're going to win. You're going to beat somebody that's 15 times your size. Biden shouldn't have let that happen. Biden shouldn't have, I mean, the man was grossly incompetent. He should have never been there. That would have never happened. But you don't go into a war that's 15 times your size.
Say it.
Fed just put out a statement saying that Lisa Cook has indicated through a personal attorney that she'll promptly challenge this action in court, seek a judicial decision that would confirm her ability to continue.
That's all right, whatever it
And
is.
it says the Fed will abide by any court decision.
Thank you very much
Will
for
you
reading
abide
that.
by a court decision?
I abide by the court, yeah. I abide by the
So
court.
the
Yes,
question
please.
is,
try to force her.
That's enough, that's enough.
Mr.
Go ahead.
President, what other companies are you thinking about taking a stake in?
Well, you know, we didn't take a stake in the sense that it was reported. Everyone said, I bought a stake in Intel. No, I got it for free. I said, I was with the, is that correct statement? Howard was there.
Absolutely correct.
Scott knew all about it. They came in, a man was charged with something by a very good person. Senator Cotton made some statements about the gentleman that was running Intel. When he came in, and I said some rough things about him, I said, I'm not happy with it, and they called, and he was very devastated at what I said. I said he should immediately resign. And he came to see me, and I was very impressed by him, actually. And he made a mistake, or factors happened where something like this could have taken place. In the meantime, his board was staying by it. And I said to him, and took the bet, I would say less than 35 seconds. I said, you know what you should do? You're smart. Give the United States of America 10% of your company. He looked at me and he said, I'll do that. I said, I just made $11 billion for the United States. And remember that I didn't pay, I didn't write a check. Now, I guess Biden, with the stupid CHIPS Act, handed money to all these people that didn't need any money. They didn't do anything. You know, they're giving billions of dollars to everybody. They all have so much money. They have no money. But there's no commitment that you had to do it. They just took all this money. I know, it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. See, with tariffs, they have to come in. Because if they don't come in, they can't sell into our country. So it's power, and you don't have to give up any money. But I said to them very simply, I mean, I'm glad we're straightening this out, because everyone thinks I bought it in. I said, You're gonna have to get used to it.
In addition to reducing the deficit, any update on your previous talking about potentially giving Americans a tariff rebate check? Any
Well,
update on that?
we have a lot of money coming in, rebate check for the Americans, and it's coming in at tremendous numbers. Don't forget, I would say, Scott, we probably are talking about right now 50%, maybe even less than that. With all the money you're hearing is coming in, you're talking about, a lot of it hasn't kicked in yet. And when it really kicks in is in 2 years when these plants are built and opened and the money starts pouring in, right? But, there's a concept of making you could call it a dividend, as we would say, making a dividend to the people in this country who have had to suffer through stupid leadership. And they paid a lot of taxes and they got nothing for it. Or they got attacked like you were, okay, for it. No, there's a possibility. Primarily, we want to pay down debt, but there's a possibility that we take a piece of it and make a dividend to the people.
And American tech companies.
I have a question for Steve Witkoff, if I may.
Yeah.
This past weekend, Sergei Lavrov was saying that Putin will not sign a peace deal with Zelensky because Russia views him as illegitimate. Just wondering if the Russians have been relaying this to your team, if they view Zelensky, as the leader worth signing a peace deal with, if they will.
Doesn't matter what they say. Steve can answer, but I can answer too. Doesn't matter what they say. Everybody's posturing. It's all bullshit, okay? Everybody's posturing. Steve, do you have a different answer?
I agree with you, sir.
What is your administration
In
doing?
the city, there are 500 people short of the police department for police. In New York City, it's 3,000. In Chicago, it's 1,300. Would they have had to bring in troops from the National Guard if the police departments in this country were fully staffed? Defund the police. How bad did that turn out for America?
It's an interesting question. I was surprised when I heard how many police were here. It's not a really big area, and I think they said they're down to 3,200 police or something like that. I said, that's a lot of police. And I was a little bit surprised, because to me that's a big force. And it's not a big area, but it is what it is. There's a lot of crime. You have a lot of, don't forget, you have a lot of police that weren't allowed to do their job. When I came in, as you remember, we made tremendous strides in a little conflict that we had going at the time, because I allowed our military to make the decision. I said, you can make any decision you want. I gave it to the colonels in the field. I gave it to the captains in the field. You remember that, where everything went through Biden, meaning one of the people, and everything went through Obama before him. Everything went through. They had to make the decision as to whether or not to attack the Taliban. So they'd find 30 people together, they'd call up Washington, and they'd go to a political hack who knew nothing about it. My first night, I got that same call. They called me, and they said, I got a call at 3 o'clock in the morning, because I listened to their system, and they were calling me and they were asking me whether or not they could attack a group of people having to do with what war I'm talking about. And I said, I know nothing about this. Wait a minute. And then I said, who is he? Let me speak to the people calling. They're calling from Afghanistan. And I said, let me speak to the people. I want to speak to them. And it was a colonel. I said, where'd you go to school, Colonel? I went to West Point, sir. Were you a good student? I was, sir. I was a very good student. So you're calling the White House to ask for permission to attack, and by the time you get the answer, how long does it take? Sometimes 2 or 3 weeks. So by the time you get the answer, the people that you want to attack have already left, right? He said, how did you know that, sir? I said, let me ask you, so you're a good student, you went to West Point, and you love the military, right? Yeah. You make the decision. And I gave all those guys that went to all these great schools, and they're all military people, I gave them the right to make their own decision, and we kicked ISIS's ass. Don't forget, ISIS was supposed to take 5 years to terminate them, and we had a man named Raisin Kane, who happens to have done the whole thing in Iran. Great general, and he's a wonderful guy too, believe it or not, but he's a great soldier. We let them do their work, and we defeated ISIS. We defeated everybody. Every Every fight that we had militarily that I had, I won. And I let these great soldiers do some make a mistake, I guess. But like this colonel, I'll never forget it. Where did you go to school? I went to West Point, sir. I did ask him a question. I like good students as opposed to bad students. He said, I was a good student, sir. And I said, you do what's necessary. And, you know, I don't want to sound overly vicious, but he wiped out the entire group of very bad people that want to kill us. So you have to let them do their job. In Washington, they're not allowed to do their job, okay? They're not allowed. You have great police. You have great police, but they're not allowed. Hello. Go ahead.
On Congress, Mr. President, would you be open to a year-long continuing resolution?
I'm always open to whatever is necessary. But here's the problem in Congress. You have Democrats that will never vote for anything. I could say that we're going to lower your taxes by 50%. We're going to guarantee you free cities, safe cities. Nobody will ever get touched, molested, beat up, shot in the head. We're going to give you the greatest country ever. We need your vote. And they won't vote. And they do it in unison. The only thing they do good is cheat on elections and unite. You know why they unite? Not because they're good or they're loyal people. They unite because they're afraid. They're afraid of the radical left. And you can't get their vote. So we have a vote coming up at the end of September, and I think we're going to pass it because we have the majority. And I think almost every Republican will vote for an extension. Because no matter what deal you make with these people, look at Schumer. He made a deal a year and a half ago, and after making the deal, he's been almost run out of the party. He's not the same man. He's not the same man. He's finished. He aged 20 years. He's become a Palestinian, by the way. We call him our great Palestinian senator. But Chuck Schumer, and I wrote him a letter. I said, Chuck, that was really great. Thank you very much. And somebody gave the letter to the press, not me. And he was destroyed because they thought I was being sarcastic, and I wasn't. He made a great decision. It kept our country open. That was a positive. But you can count on almost no vote. I mean, I see things. I'll give you an example, crime. So we're going to pass a bill to stop crime. We may not get one Democrat vote. Okay. We may not get one. So when you say continuing resolution, I guess so. And it's going to be passed exclusively by Republicans.
On
Mr. President,
why do you use
you mentioned in Iowa that you wanted to see
sir?
some changes to the H-2A visa
Yeah.
program for farm workers.
Right.
You mentioned in Iowa that you want some changes. Do you want to see that before the fall harvest?
Well, I love both groups, and we take care of our farmers, and we also take care of the people that want bad people out of our country. And we're working on something that's going to work really well. We take care of our farmers, but we also have to take care of those people that voted for me because they don't want criminals in our country. And we're working on something where we can take care of both.
Mr. President, a question about your
You were talking about the CDO report that two of your cabinet members were talking about. I remember back on Liberation Day, many of us reporters covered your detractors, people saying that it was going to explode the deficit and therefore explode the debt. Who all has called you to say I was wrong?
That's very good. You know the answer to that. Okay, yeah, please.
Governor Pritzker said yesterday that he, at a press conference, that he would encourage nonviolent resistance to the National Guard if they were sent to Chicago. What's your response to that?
He said what?
That he would encourage nonviolent resistance if the National Guard is sent to Chicago.
Look, this guy doesn't know what resistance is or nonviolent resistance is. He's a bad politician. It's amazing. I mean, if he didn't have the money, he wouldn't get any votes because there's no compelling reason to vote for him. That's a major loser. But it would be nice if he would call me. I would change my mind immediately. He said, you know, because everybody knows Chicago is a hellhole right now. Everybody knows. It's not like he's saying, Chicago has much better numbers, right? Well, what's much better? You mean 100 people are going to be murdered? It's going to be much more than that. So I would have much more respect for Pritzker if he'd call me up and say, I have a problem, can you help me fix it? I would be so happy to do it. I don't love, not that I don't have the right to do anything I want to do. I'm the President of the United States. If I think our country's in danger, and it is in danger in these cities, I can do it. No problem going in and solving, you know, his difficulties. But it would be nice if they'd call and they'd say, would you do it? And we do it in conjunction. Now, we work very well with the police because we naturally get along with the police. So the police and us work really well together, whether the mayor is opposed or whether, I mean, you have a really rotten mayor there too. He's got a 6% approval rating in Chicago. And I see black women wearing a red MAGA hat last night on television. Please let the president come in. My son was attacked. You have a force of black women. They're like only Trump. They want Trump to come in. And you see them, they're all over the place in Chicago because they're afraid to go out and they don't want their son or their daughter killed, just like your parents didn't want you killed. And we have a tremendous, look, it's not about winning elections because we want to have nice, fair elections. It's not politics. We want to see a safe country. You have people that want to see a safe country, and they're great people. You have great people in Chicago. The mayor is at 6% approval. He's an incompetent man. He should have never been put in a position like that. He can't handle it. You have an incompetent governor there. You have an incompetent governor in California, Gavin. I know him very well. He's incompetent. He's a nice guy, looks good. Hi, everybody. How you doing? He's got some strange hand action going. I don't know what the hell his problem is. It's a little weird, to be honest. A little something shaky going on there. But, you know, all he has to do is call me and say, we have the Olympics coming up. We want to make it really good and safe. And I'll put some really good, great American patriots in there, and you won't have any problem. Don't forget, it's loaded up with some stone-cold killers, some really bad people, some people that were just born to be bad. They're criminals, bad criminals, dangerous. And we can solve the problem for them very quickly.
On foreign policy, sir.
You know what I think? I think this. You have not had this happen for 4 years. You sat and you'd ask one question to Biden, and it was always the ice cream question, right? What flavor ice cream do you like best? I like vanilla. And that was the end of the conference. I think now we've
One
done
more
enough.
question on
These
Israel.
people are very busy. I want to just thank, this is the greatest, this has never been done before. First of all, a cabinet meeting was sacred. You'd never let the fake news media in. But the fake news media isn't all fake. It's, a lot of it is, but it's not all. I think it's a great thing. I think maybe it's going to be done in the future. I hope it's going to be done. But you really get the word out. I mean, we had, each one of these people spoke. I think each one, if I thought one of them did badly, I would call that person out. I would say, Christy, what the heck are you doing? No, but no, seriously, you have a very talented group of people. They get along, they work along together. And there's something really nice about just, you know, the openness of what we're doing. It's government. It's an open government. That's what we are. And we haven't made too many mistakes. Maybe we'll, but we haven't made too many mistakes. We've called it right. And I think you can be very proud of your country. We are a respected country again. We are really, right now, respected at the highest level, and we're doing great. And we're a very rich country again, very rich. And that's a good thing, because when we're rich, we can take care of poor. And that's what we're doing, and we're taking care of crime. And I hope, just in finishing, I hope that Illinois, I hope that New York, I hope that California, I hope they call me and they say, I'd love to have you come in and help us out. I will be a totally different person with them. I will respect them for doing it. Thank you all very much. Thank you, everybody.
Your longest answer for the questions. Guys, go right back on the left.
Guys,